The Oshkosh Arena now facing foreclosure.
The builder, Bayland Building, seeking nearly $12.5 million from Fox Valley Pro Basketball, saying in these court documents the company has no money and is behind on obligations to both the city and the Milwaukee Bucks. Jason Zimmerman has been reviewing those court documents. He's live in the Fox Valley newsroom with this first alert update. Jason.
Cammie, that filing was made in the Winnebago County Court on Tuesday, and it accuses Fox Valley Pro Basketball and its president, Greg Pierce, of not making a single mortgage payment on the arena since March. And when it has made payments in the past, they've been consistently late. Bayland Buildings also claims in those documents that obligations to the Milwaukee Bucks organization haven't been met, and noted that the arena is up for sale right now with an undisclosed asking price. Bayland is seeking to have the arena placed in receivership. Today, Oshkosh City Manager Mark Roloff told our radio partner WHBY he supports doing that, which will ensure the tax bill gets paid. Right now, the arena owes more than $625,000 to the city.
Those are what was actually due immediately after January 31st when they failed to make their first payment. According to law, once you're delinquent, the entire amount is due. So technically, there wasn't an amount due on last week because it was already due 4 months ago.
We have reached out to Fox Valley Pro Basketball concerning this latest court action and the other allegations as well. So far, we have not heard back, and no court dates have been set. Reporting live in the Fox Valley newsroom, Jason Zimmerman, Action 2 News.